John, thanks for taking the time with me. I'm sure it's been a crazy day for you, but appreciate you sparing a few minutes. All right, so the arbiters ruled in favor of Lori and A-Rod.
Mhm.
What happens now?
Right. So I think an important thing for Wolves fans to understand right now is that Mark Lori and Alex Rodriguez won today in arbitration, a huge ruling for them and a big day for them. They do not immediately take over as owners of the Timberwolves and Lynx. They also now have to go through a final approval process with the NBA. So the league will look at their financials, will vet every part of their ownership group that they're coming in with, and then we'll have the board of governors, all 30 owners well, 29 owners will vote yay or nay on Mark Lori and Alex Rodriguez. That process will probably take weeks. We don't have a clear idea yet of exactly when that will happen, but there's still one final hoop to jump through before they take over.
So I remember, back when the extension was talked about initially, it was that the the people that Lori and A-Rod had as backers, I think it was it Capital Group or something like that. They were not approved to be a part of that payment, but they said that they had another financial backer, and Glenn was just like, "No, that's okay, I'm out." So, what's the status of that now?
Right. So the reason that Glenn Taylor called off the agreement was that he said that Mark Lori and Alex Rodriguez did not have all of their financial ducks in a row and did not complete every step of the process to make them eligible for a 90-day extension that Lori and Rodriguez said they were entitled to. The reason for that is because Mark Lori and Alex Rodriguez had to change one of their investment banks that was involved in their group sort of at the last minute. One bank was not approved by the NBA. They quickly pivoted to another bank to help finance this acquisition. And so that did delay their final payment just a little bit. But Mark Lori and Alex Rodriguez did get all of their documentation in a week ahead of the final deadline. Taylor believed that they had to have everything closed by that day. And so the arbitration case was all centered around this argument. Was Mark Lori and Alex Rodriguez entitled to that 90-day extension to go through the final parts of the process, or were they not? Glenn Taylor believed they were not. Mark Lori and Alex Rodriguez said they were, and the arbitration panel ruled in their favor. So they will get that 90 days to finish the process here.
And how close do you feel like they are with finishing up that process? I know it was talked about that they have the 940 million, ready to go to complete the purchase. Is that true?
That is true. The Athletic, we've reported it that Mark Lori and Alex Rodriguez do have $950 million in an escrow account ready to go to use toward the purchase of the final equity stake of the team. And so that is already, I think that, they have that money in place. They also added former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg to their ownership group as a limited partner. They have former Google CEO Eric Schmidt in their group. So they have some well-heeled minority investors as well with Mark Lori and Alex Rodriguez. And so they believe they have addressed every financial concern that anyone would have about their group. Now they go to the NBA for that final vetting, and we will see if the league agrees with them that they have covered all of their bases and addressed anything that needs to be addressed. They remain incredibly confident that this is going to be a smooth, easy process, and we'll find out in short order.
Okay. Back when I talked to you in June about this whole thing, we talked about how there was a potential new arena that could be in play, a new TV deal. Where do those things stand?
So those have been in a holding pattern while they went through all of this arbitration process. But now, assuming that Lori and Rodriguez get approved by the NBA and do take over the Timberwolves and Lynx, now I think it is going to be time for them to put a lot of their talk into action. They have said publicly that they are working on plans for a privately financed arena. What exactly that looks like, we don't know yet. They have also said that they are working on a broadcasting arrangement to address the regional sports network difficulties across the entire NBA, including here in the Twin Cities. And so they have been thinking about these things. They have been putting together plans over the last year or more to really put their stamp on this organization. And we are getting closer and closer to the day where they can start to put those things into action, and we see what those look like in reality versus just the hypotheticals that they were talking about.
So now talking about Lori and A-Rod, what about the other side? What does the next weeks and months look like for Glenn Taylor and his tenure as owner of the teams?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's the end of an era if this all goes through, right? I mean, he bought the team in 1994. He saved the Timberwolves from moving to New Orleans. There is one reason that Anthony Edwards is dunking these days, and Target Center is full, and that's because Glenn Taylor kept them from moving. So he has that part of his legacy intact. He also had a hard time having sustained success with the Timberwolves, and so he is looking at possibly here moving on to other parts of his life. He's 83 years old. He loved being an owner of the Timberwolves and Lynx. You know, led that the Lynx franchise to 4 championships. So he accomplished quite a lot here in Minnesota. But I think he will probably have however long this process takes with the league and with Lorian Rodriguez to kind of have his final go through with the Timberwolves and be around them a little bit, and we will see how he handles that. One thing, Reggie, uh, people have asked, can he appeal this ruling? And technically, there's no means for appeal in an arbitration case, but he could challenge the ruling in federal court. The problem is there is a very high threshold that you have to meet to get an arbitration's decision overturned. And so I think that he will likely not challenge this ruling. He has not, I don't think, made a final decision on that yet, but all indications are that he will accept this ruling and move on with his life.
So with that, like what does that necessarily mean for some of the people in the building and what's the feel like throughout the organization?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, what it does do is bring clarity to an incredibly muddy situation over this last year. I think that players, coaches, front office people, business and marketing people were really caught in the middle of a very messy divorce, and it was very difficult on everyone. I think that now that this is process is going forward, there's a little bit more clarity and direction on who is going to be in charge and what they're going to do going forward. And so, once Lori and Rodriguez are approved by the NBA, assuming that does go through, I think it just kind of takes some of the pressure out of the building. But there certainly will be a period of transition. The two ownership styles could not be more different between Glenn Taylor and Mark Lori and Alex Rodriguez. So there will probably be some changes, probably more, I would say, on the business side than on the basketball side immediately. And there will be some adjustment period as well. But I do think overall the impression that I get is people are just kind of glad that this is over and they know kind of where they're headed here.
Speaking of some of those people in the building, do you expect that Tim Connolly now will probably have a little bit more of a firmer footing moving forward with his
It's
position?
Yeah, it seems so, Reggie. I mean, you look at he can be a free agent this summer. He has an option on his contract that he can exercise to become a free agent. But Mark Lori and Alex Rodriguez are the people who really spearheaded his arrival in Minnesota from Denver. And so I think that he really wanted that clarity as well. He didn't want to have to serve two different bosses like the way that he had kind of been stuck in the middle of over the last couple of years. So at least he knows now who is providing the direction and what the path forward is here. And I think that makes things easier on him. I don't expect him to immediately, kind of announce his intentions or his plans, but I'm sure that he will have conversations with Lorian Rodriguez, who very much support him and are in his corner about him staying here for a long time.
from a basketball perspective, I know, they're going to be in that second apron and there are
Mhm.
some decisions to be made. How do you anticipate this ownership change affecting that and their spending moving forward?
Yeah, that part will be interesting to see how they go about it because they have an $85 million luxury tax payment at the end of this season. That is no joke. That is a huge number. And going forward, there are, more of those taxes on the way unless changes are made. They have said in the past that they will be very aggressive spending into the luxury tax, but we are seeing owners all over the league, including Steve Ballmer in LA, who is the richest owner in the league, make decisions financially to get out of that second apron on occasion. And so, how they go about making their long-term roster construction decisions and things of that nature will be very interesting to see. The Karl Anthony Towns trade was driven by money in large part, and there may need to be more of those moves, or it's possible that the Timberwolves go on a deep run in these playoffs and give Mark Lori and Alex Rodriguez more reason to stay in the tax for another year and try and make one more run at a championship. We'll just have to see how all of that plays out. But certainly there is a huge financial component to this that is kind of lingering over everything as they go forward.
And the arena deal you expect will be in Minnesota, right?
Yes, I do expect that, Reggie, is I know that a lot of people continue to be concerned about a group of outsiders moving the Timberwolves out of Minnesota, but I think when you look at the landscape of the league, the expectation is that they will expand to Seattle and Las Vegas, two kind of vibrant markets, and I just don't see the league being in any kind of rush to move the Timberwolves out of Minnesota because they're selling out Target Center every night. You guys have seen on KARE 11 with your broadcast, that building is packed. And there's a lot of momentum and excitement and energy around this team. And so everything that I've been told, and I do believe it, is that Mark Lore and Alex Rodriguez want to build an arena here so that this team stays here for decades and decades going forward.